Hello, hello. It's the Working Whiskey Woman again. And tonight I thought I would do something different. Instead of trying some more exotic ones that I've been doing earlier, I thought I would do some bar standards. Now, my oldest skater daughter, Katya, say hi, Katya.
Hi.
She works at Townhouse in Birmingham, and one of the things that she's noticed being a server is that they normally have Old Granddad as their well. And I think I talked about this in our first video about different bourbons that you would try, and some that are like very expensive, such as Basil Hayden, or can be more expensive versus their counterpart, which could be cheaper, such as Old Granddad, but still taste just as good. So one of my favorites is actually Old Granddad Bonded, and you'll see this, I believe at Townhouse they use at least Old Granddad as what they call their well. So if you just order an old fashioned, you'll get this as the base, which is really wonderful because it's a very nice bourbon. It's really good. And for example, like this bottle of this bottled in bond version, which is even better, cost you, maybe set you back about $20–25. So it's really a good deal. Now, why bottled in bond? Well, bottled in bond, if you remember from the first video we talked about, started with Colonel E.H. Taylor, and actually one of his bottles is right here. So this is his 4-grain, which everybody loves. But Colonel E.H. Taylor was really upset with the rectifiers, with people just putting in tobacco spit or prune juice or something like that into the White Lightning and then trying to sell it and call it bourbon or call it whiskey. So he wanted to really show that he had a quality product, and so he started basically what was called the Bottled in Bond Act. That actually led to the Food and Drug Administration's Pure Food Act in 1906. So you can thank Colonel Taylor for helping make our food a little bit safer and knowing the consumer, knowing what we're actually going to get. So what he did is he said, bottled in bond has to be aged in a federally controlled rick house. It has to be of a single vintage of a year, and it has to be 4 years old. So for example, in this bottle, if this is a blended whiskey, all of the whiskey that would be in here would be from 4 years and nothing younger, nothing older. So it has to be a minimum of 4 years. It can be older than that, but it was very well controlled and very well understood that you were getting good quality. And in fact, that's why on many, you don't see it here, but on many bottles, you'll see this label and it says 100 proof. Oh yes, it also has to be 100 proof. But the label here, basically, in the olden days, symbolized that, yes, the federal government has said that, yes, yea, verily, this is from one rick house. It was aged 4 years. They didn't put anything in it. And you've got this, basically, this seal of approval. So, generally, you can find a bottle in bond relatively cheaply, maybe around $20–25 or so. But no matter what bottle in bond you do, it always tends to be a really good whiskey or a really good bourbon because of these rules. So Old Granddad is one of my favorites. It's actually it's owned by Jim Beam, but it's a very old recipe, and I really enjoy it. So this is what we have, and this is a little bit lighter in color. Again, it's going to be about 4 years. Won't be as light as what you normally see. On the nose, there's a lot of toffee on it. And I'm getting almost a slight hint of licorice, although, of course, at first blush, you really just get kind of that frosted flakes kind of nose that hits you. But then you'll start to get that toffee, a little bit of that licorice kind of coming in. So taste-wise, I can definitely taste that beautiful grain. Actually, ironically, I can really get that rye. You almost like a good piece of rye bread. They're just really nice and kind of a little bit yeasty in there too, but a little bit hearty, giving you a little bit more of that dark flavor. And it's just really, really delicious. The finish is a little bit more peppery. It's kind of like a really tight hug, from a toddler who won't let go of your leg, but it's actually pretty good. So for this, I would drink this with ice. It's a little bit, at 100 proof, it's a little bit too much for me to drink just neat. But putting in a little bit of water, again, will really open it up a little bit for you. And it's also a very good one to mix. And especially for those of you who are starting out with bourbon or whiskey and you like something a little bit sweeter, this is a really good one to mix. Again, I wouldn't make it too sweet, but an old fashioned is perfect for this. because you just make it a little bit sweeter, but you could still get those nuances of just that nice, beautiful rye kind of coming out on it, you know, a little bit of that licorice, and it just, you know, it'll pull out and enhance those flavors. So with the water, oh yeah, you get a little bit more of that toffee kind of coming out. And there's even some coffee elements to it. So a nice, dark, rich coffee. My friend Sammy would probably say there's like tea flavors in it, a little bit of bergamot, that type of thing. So this is a really nice one. Again, it's really good to mix. I think it's not too sweet, but it's also not too harsh. So it kind of meets everybody in the middle. So it's a really, I would keep this as just a good thing to have at your bar. In an upscale place that knows their whiskey, like Townhouse, they'll have something on hand like this. So you might also be at places where you'll see something like Elijah Craig. Now Elijah Craig, there's two ways. There's either their blended version, or in this particular case, this is actually a single barrel select. This was out of Napa Valley, but sometimes some stores will have that. And again, when you go and you take a look and you talk to those liquor store owners, you can get an idea of their palate. You want to find somebody whose palate kind of works for you. Some people like really cigar type palates, you know, they really enjoy that smoky tobacco. Then you need to probably find somebody who's got more of that. Some like sweeter, but again, everybody's got different palates and different flavors, and you can definitely get to know and talk to owners, and you can tell a good place because they'll want to talk about it and they'll be very enthusiastic about it. But Elijah Craig you will often see on a bar. If you go into any restaurant, usually like a little bit nicer. If you don't have Old Granddad and you're like, well, I'm interested in Elijah Craig, I don't know what to order. Elijah Craig is a really good, nice bet. This is about 94 proof, and it's out of Heaven Hill. And Heaven Hill does quite a few. Elijah Craig, the story is that Elijah Craig was the first person to actually take whiskey and age it in barrels. So this is the story behind Elijah Craig. And no, I don't think he charred it because it used to have fish in it or anything like that. But bottom line is they pretty much basically give the credit to this Baptist minister on charring barrels and putting his whiskey in there and getting that nice flavor that you get that comes out of that oak. So we'll keep on with that because a lot of things in history and bourbon history are tend to be a little bit of legend, tend to be a little bit of truth, and maybe after a few more glasses, you don't quite know which one is which. So this one has a lot cherry on the nose. Again, very different from this, which was a little bit more of that corn, that grain. This one is a lot more candy, a lot more of the honey. It's got more like the honeysuckle type of thing. And it's much more fruit. You can smell the cherry, you can smell the orange. And then tasting it, it's just really that nice orange that kind of changes into a grapefruit flavor. And it really kind of leaves that little bit of kind of like a grapefruit papaya taste in the back. Kind of gives you that nice little tropical hug. Maybe if you had a cabana boy that would give you a nice little hug after serving you a nice hot cocktail, that would be really great. But if you like something a little bit sweeter, I would definitely recommend this, definitely over ice. For those of you who aren't as used to it, but those of you who like something, again, that leans more towards that caramel side, you know, those beautiful sweet flavors that come out of that corn, this is definitely for you. I put a few drops of water in this. And yes, I get a lot more of that sweeter notes. I get a little bit of tail of cherry pepper now at the end, but I'm telling you, I don't mind sitting underneath a cabana, having somebody serve me this on ice. I'm really good with that. This would be something that I wouldn't mix too much with anything too sweet because you'll just get sweet on sweet. But if you wanted to do something, even like a Manhattan would be nice with a little bit more of that vermouth or any one of those other types of cocktails that would really, you know, like a last word. If you wanted to do that instead of with gin, you could do this with bourbon, and I think it would be really fantastic. So with that, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this, and happy birthday to Gabe Woodruff, who is the inspiration for all of this. My daughter's both of them, their skate coach, and he's the one who, fortunately for us, drank some really bad whiskey in front of me and therefore caused this whole mess. So to that, Gabe, happy birthday and cheers.